Welcome to the Laws of Shabbat. This will be part 33 of the class. In today's topic, Rav David Yosef Sudan the Sefer Halacha Berurah is going to speak about: is one allowed to mix food inside a pot on Shabbat? What about covering the pot on Shabbat with a pot cover? Or doing anything that's going to speed up the cooking process? Are those problems that one has to worry on Shabbat? Rav David Yosef Shita begins. Tavshil shayam munach al ha'ish. If you had a food which was placed on an open fire on Shabbat, or al plata chashmalit, or on an electric plate, or al ish mechuseh, or on a covered fire, v'adayin lo nitbashel afilu kimachal ben dorsai, and still the food wasn't cooked, even a third. Ve'asa eze pe'ula, and you went out and you did something to the food, kedei lezarez u'lekarev et bishulu, in order to hasten and to speed up the cooking process. Ukigo, now he's going to give us the example. Shehigis v'irbev tavshil. You took a ladle and you went out and you started stirring and you started mixing the food inside the pot. Or shikisa oto b'mechase, or you went there and you covered the pot with a pot cover on Shabbat. He says in parentheses, Ein lehalan siman, Ein lehalan siif samach, she'asur min haTorah lechasot et keder b'mechase. Rabotai, very important halacha. A lot of people forget this halacha. They forget to cover the pot, and then on Shabbat they go in and they cover it. Comes Rav David Yosef Studan, he says, Ein lehalan si'if samach. We'll see later on, he says in Halacha 60, she'asur min haTorah, it is forbidden from the Torah, lechasot et hakeder b'machaseh, to close the pot with a pot cover, kol she'en kol hatav shel mevushal kol torko. As long as the food is not fully cooked, you're not allowed to go ahead and close the pot cover. A lot of times you have this, especially Rabotai, on Friday night, when you want to go ahead and you want to see if the chulin is ready, because it's for Shabbat. Or you want to see how the oswa is doing, because it's for Shabbat. What do? You open it and you take a look inside to see if it's ready or not. Now Rabotai, you have to understand, if it's not fully cooked, by you going ahead and closing the cover, after you open, you close it, you are doing prohibitions from the Torah. We'll see this be'ezrat Hashem. You're not allowed to do it. That's why don't open it. Don't even open it. Sometimes you have people, they start stirring the pot, then they close it, they want to make sure that everything gets cooked. Because the bottom is already cooked, but the top is not fully cooked. So what do? They flip it around, they take the top and they put it onto the bottom, and the bottom they bring back to the top. So now the what was on the top, which is now on the bottom, they want it to become more fully cooked. That's a problem, Rabotai. That's a very big problem. That you're not allowed to do on Shabbat. That's what he says. It is forbidden from the Torah to cover a pot with a pot cover on Shabbat, as long as the food is not fully cooked. If the food is not, it could be a third cooked, it could be 50% cooked, it could be 75% cooked. If it's not fully cooked, you're not allowed to close the pot. You're not allowed to close the pot with a pot cover. So now, Rabotai, so that was a side matter that he brought down. But let's go back to our halacha. If a person had food which is not fully cooked, it was not even a third cooked, and he went there and he stirred it on Shabbat, or he mixed it, or he closed it with a pot cover, in order to speed up the cooking process, what is going to be the halacha? The halacha is, Dino kedin mevashel b'Shabbat. The halacha is going to be like the halacha as if you are cooking on Shabbat. Even though without you doing anything, the food would have cooked in any event, mikol makom, nevertheless, since you sped up the cooking process, Harei asa malechet mevashel doraita. You did a forbidden work on Shabbat, which is from the Torah, which is cooking on Shabbat. So you're thinking to yourself, what am I doing by steering the osvo or the cholent, whatever it might be, or whatever it might be, Rabotai. You think, what am I doing? I'm not doing anything. Rabotai. Halacha says over here, you did a malechet mevashel. You did the malacha of cooking on Shabbat, which is a prohibition from the Torah. I want to read it for one more time. Even though the cook would have cooked without you doing anything. Nevertheless, since you hasten, since you sped up the cooking process, you did a malacha of cooking, doraita, which is from the Torah. So therefore, Rabotai, this is a problem. Now, what is going to be the halakha in regards to eating this food? It is asur. You're not allowed to eat this food. Now, before we continue, what is going to be the halakha with that food? Are you allowed to eat it on Shabbat or not? Rav David Yosef should answer it right over here. Dino kidin mevashal b'Shabbat. The halakha is going to be as if you cooked on Shabbat. We know we saw this in the earlier class when we started learning the halachot of cooking for Shabbat. We saw over there, anybody that cooks on Shabbat, whether it was done by accident or whether it was done intentionally, nobody is allowed to eat it until after Shabbat. We went at length through all these halachot in the beginning classes when we started learning the laws of cooking on Shabbat. I'm not going to go over them because we already did them. So therefore, halacha lema says, our halacha that we have to know for today, if a person had a food which wasn't even cooked a third, and he went and he stirred it, or he mixed it, or he even closed it with a pot cover to speed up the cooking process, the halacha is going to tell you this food is forbidden to be eaten on Shabbat. You have to wait until after Shabbat. You're not allowed to eat it on Shabbat. And nevertheless, he says, nevertheless, if the food was already cooked, at least a third, according to one opinion. Another opinion says it has to be at least halfway cooked. Let's go with a third is also good. If the food was already partially cooked, at least a third, vikisa and you covered it on Shabbat, you're not allowed to do it, but you went ahead and you did it. Or shigizbo, or you went and you stirred it on Shabbat. You're not allowed to do it, but you went ahead and you did it. Right over here, Rabotai, he says it. Even though it was cooked, either a third or even 50%, doesn't matter. Even though he transgressed a prohibition, it was asur, you did it, you did an avera. According to many great earlier authorities, you transgressed with this action on the prohibition from the Torah. It's not a rabbinical prohibition, from the Torah. Nevertheless, after the fact, if it already happened, over here we're going to tell you the food does not become forbidden. You're allowed to go ahead and eat the food. So we have over here two scenarios. Scenario number one, where the food wasn't even cooked a third. You went ahead and you stirred it, you mixed it, you closed the pot cover. Whatever it was you did to speed up the cooking process, we're going to tell you over there, since it wasn't even a third cooked, you did a malacha d'oraita, you did a prohibition from the Torah. Nobody's allowed to eat that food until after Shabbat. However, when it comes to a food which was already cooked at least a third, it was partially cooked, over there we're going to tell you, even though you did a prohibition, according to many Rishonim, you did a prohibition from the Torah, nevertheless, we're going to tell you after the fact, you are allowed to eat that food on Shabbat itself. Summary. Prohibition of cooking on Shabbat when a dish is already on the heat but not yet fully cooked. If the food is not yet even ma'achal ben dorsai, not yet partially cooked, about 1/3 to 1/2 cooked, and a person steers it, covers the pot, or does anything that speeds up the cooking, this is considered full Torah level cooking, like we saw melacha d'oraitim. Even though the food would have cooked eventually without intervention, the act of hastening the cooking itself is biblical cooking. Number 2, covering the pot when not fully cooked is explicitly stated as forbidden from the Torah because it speeds up the cooking process. If the food is already ma'achal ben dorsai, this is the b'di'evet case, reach the minimum halachic cook status, again, according to one opinion is a third, according to another opinion has to be 50% cooked, at least half, and one covers it or steers it, he has still done something forbidden. Many Rishonim hold it is still a Torah level prohibition. However, after the fact, b'di'evet, the food does not become forbidden to eat.